Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. If you have never seen my face before, lucky you, my name is May. So if you guys have been with me since I started my channel, a few months ago when we got back from Australia, I made my favourite books of all time. And for some reason you guys loved it. Personally, I think the video's trash. It was my first booktube video I ever did, but it's the most popular on my channel. So here we are again with part 2. Why is my voice so today? Also, let me start this video off with a rather sad story. I go downstairs to make myself a cup of tea for while I film, because I like talking about books and drinking tea. Got downstairs, boiled the kettle. There's enough for 1 cup of tea in the kettle because I couldn't be bothered to refill it. Everything fine. Kettle boils. I look around for the tea bag. Not a single tea bag in sight. I'm like, where have all the tea bags gone? Like, you don't understand. In my house, we're all 90% tea. So I was like, okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'll have a coffee. I don't drink coffee at home. I don't like instant coffee, so don't drink it. Made myself a coffee. Turn around, tea bags on the counter behind me.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And then I couldn't be bothered to reboil the kettle again because I'm that lazy, so now I'm gonna drink coffee. Alright? But yeah, so the first video I made wasn't exactly great, and I realised that there were so many books that I loved that I'd left out of that video. Just because otherwise the video would have been like 7 hours long. Anyway, let's get right on into it. So I've got a bit of a mix of like fantasy books, obviously, and a couple of classics in there, because that's really my reading style. So if you guys aren't into fantasy and classics, then sorry. I've got some sci-fi as well if you guys are into sci-fi, but classic sci-fi, so deal. Okay, so the first book we're going to talk about is obvious if you've seen any of my videos, and that is The Borrables by Michael D. Larabetti. I'm not going to talk too much about this one. I think I go into it in a lot of depth in one of my other videos. I don't know which one though. Book tag, maybe. Sticker card, please. Thank you. I'm sorry for my hella damaged copy, but that's how many times I've read it. And it's actually 3 different books in this one. Let's just count it as one. But it is my favourite book of all time. It's about a group of kids who run away from home and become Borrables. They're running around the streets of London, causing mischief, getting into a big old war with the policemen. It's very exciting, very cool. No one's ever read it. Please someone friggin' read it, and then I'll stop talking about it, I promise. I'm joking. I'm not going to stop talking about it. I'm never going to stop talking about it until the end of time, until everybody's read it and everybody knows what it is. But then it'll probably ruin it because I'll turn it into a film. Never mind. Next book. Let's stick with the same theme as the first one. Well, loosely. Let's loosely say we're going to stick with the theme of the first one. And that is The Enemy by Charlie Higson. I feel like I've spoken about this before. Let me go and check, because I feel like I'm just repeating myself now. I just checked. It was actually in that same video that I spoke about the Borrables. We're just gonna go for it again. I didn't think this through. I'm sorry, everybody. Charlie Higson, The Enemy. Scary as hell. I don't know how much I spoke about it beforehand, but it's basically about a group of kids in London, again, like the Borrables. You see where my connection loosely based, really loosely. Basically there's a type of infection that goes around which causes everybody over the age of 14, I think it is, to turn into like these zombie-esque creatures. And it's all about the kids, you know, running from the zombies. And it's creepy as hell and it's great. Now, a disclaimer though. So the book is about young kids, so kids under 14. But I don't know how much I'd recommend reading it to kids under 14, if any of you are interested. Because I think I read it when I was like, I'm gonna say 15, 16, and it scared the living hell out of me then. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just an absolute wuss. But it's very, very good. Coffee's gross. The characters in it are some of my favourite set of characters I've ever read about in a book, ever, except for the Borrables. It's a similar writing style, it's a similar character base, it's a similar adventure story with different antagonists. Is that the opposite of protagonist, antagonist? I'm gonna go with that. The Enemy is also a series. It is a series of, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a series of 7 books. Some of them much better than others, let me tell you. I think the first 4 are amazing. Last 3, we're getting a bit iffy there. It's really, really cool, really exciting, and a really, really interesting take on the whole zombie apocalypse thing. I reckon we should move on to a bit more of a classic. lots of my favourite books I've read are more of the classic cult genre, which definitely one of the first ones I ever fell in love with is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. If you've ever watched the movie, the one with Johnny Depp in it, and you don't understand it because it's confusing as hell and everyone's on drugs and you don't really know what's going on, then read the book. You'll be equally confused, but then you might actually understand the storyline. This is one of my favourite books just because it's so odd, it's so unusual, absolutely insane, but it's written so fantastically. This is a story which makes no sense. It starts in the middle of nowhere, these two guys driving in a car, and you have no idea why they're there. You have no idea who these people are. You have no idea through the majority of the book what the hell is going on. But that's why it's ingenious. It's even cooler when you think about it because it is a true story. The main character in it is Hunter S. Thompson, and he actually experienced all these things, and if you've ever wanted to be put off of doing drugs, just read that. It's a very, 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 very well written story, and I was never that fond of the film because it really, really freaked me out. I have a really massive drug phobia, so the film always really, really scared me, but then reading it, I was like blown away by how good of a writer he is. It's a very controversial book. It's one of those people don't really like talk about as reading. Lots of people just know the film and don't know there's a book about it. If that's you guys, then pick it up. You might surprise yourself like I did and fall in love with it. We're gonna skip back on over to fantasy with The Princess Bride by William Golding. Is that his name? Goldman. I messed up. I can't explain this book to you because it's just too amazing. I don't want to explain to you guys the narrative structure of this book because it'll ruin it. I've always loved The Princess Bride. I adored the film when I was younger and I definitely still do. And I never realised it was a book until a few years ago. It's such an interesting take on reading a book. You're essentially reading a movie, but in a book, but not a play or a screenplay. You're reading the movie inside of a book. If you've never heard of The Princess Bride for some ungodly reason and you don't know what it is, it's about a girl called Buttercup who lives on a farm who falls in love with a boy called Wesley. Wesley goes off to war and dies. A few years pass and she gets kidnapped by these group of bandits. And I'm just gonna leave it at that because if you are a magical fairy tale person like I am, you're gonna love it. And if you're just interested in narrative and story writing, then it's a really, really good book to read because I've never read another book that's been written like it. The next two I'm gonna go through pretty quickly because I feel like most people have heard of them. Fahrenheit 451 by Bradbury. I think this is a book that everybody should read. I think they should study it in schools and I think everybody should learn about Fahrenheit 451 in the same way that everybody should read this blank blue book. I don't have a copy with the name on it. It's George Orwell, 1984. They are incredibly telling of today's society. 1984 was written in 1949 and Fahrenheit was written in 1953. And I find that absolutely astounding. All those years ago, George Orwell and Ray Bradbury could almost predict what was gonna happen. You know, almost, my maths isn't great, almost 70 years down the line. If you've never read these books, 1984 is about the whole Big Brother effect, about people watching you and being controlled by the government. And Fahrenheit 451 is all about the media and the burning of books, so people don't have any of their own knowledge and their own information. It's all driven through the media. And I think they're incredibly, incredibly important books for people to read. And honestly, you can't even tell that they've been written loads of years ago. Ray Bradbury is also one of my favourite ever authors. I love literally everything he writes. Something Wicked This Way Comes, The Illustrated Man, all of his short stories. I think they're all beautiful and they're all amazing. George Orwell's a bit different, but I do absolutely adore 1984. The ending is literally so suspenseful and so shocking that I just couldn't believe what I just read. I read the whole thing in like a day. Next one is Fairy Tale by Remedy Feist. This is a super cool edition as well because I got this in Australia and it's actually a first edition, which is very exciting for me. Fairy Tale is about fairies, everybody. I don't know what the hell gave that away. We're not talking nice pretty little children's fairies from Enid Blyton. We're talking about those nasty buggers they call the Fae, who I think are awesome. The tagline for that book is "This is no bedtime story," because it's not. It's very, very dark, very, very twisted. It's actually based off of a lot of folklore, a lot of Irish folklore, which is really cool because if you guys didn't know, I'm part Irish. Hello. It's based a lot on that and a lot of the more evil side to the fairies. So there's a lot of nasty stuff in that book. It's them in their true essence. They're just evil, basically. But it's a very good book. Also, Remini Feist is one of my favourite authors. You've heard me talk about Magician before. And then last but not least, we have The Lovely Neverwhere by Mr. Neil Gaiman. I love this book more than most things in the world. Neil Gaiman is also one of my favourite authors just because he's such fabulous writer. Every sentence, every word, even his full stops are just beautiful. But Neverwhere is basically a book set in the London Underground. It's about a man called Richard who comes across a girl who's running from 2 assassins. Her name is Dor. That's where I love the name Dor from. I'm always like, why do I like the name Dor? And it's from this, or it's definitely from this, or it's from Piers Anthony. Why haven't I spoken about Piers Anthony? Oh my god. There's so many books. We might have to make a part 3, guys. Neverwhere is really cool, and he basically discovers a whole new world that lies within the London Underground. I don't want to ruin it. I'm the worst ruiner ever. I could talk and talk and talk about forever, but I don't want to ruin it for you guys. That is it for today's video with my favourite books of all time, part 2. Please leave me a comment down below and tell me if you like any of these books. What are your favourite books? Give me some recommendations. I'm trying to give you guys recommendations. You guys give me some recommendations. That'd be lovely. Also, don't forget to give this video a big like if you did enjoy it. Hit that subscribe button and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, my lovelies.